And this is how it looks like. The new Hansshow 9-inch screen. Pretty straightforward. Today we're going to install the Hansshow 9-inch screen. Technically a pretty simple install, just takes some effort. We'll need to take off the front dash, this side piece, this small piece here, and then this small piece here, and then the weather shielding. So Daniel, we're installing the screen on your car. How do you feel? Do you think it will be an easy installation?
Kelvin, with you here, of course it's going to be an easy installation.
All right, let's do it. So out of the box, there's the screen, pry tools, I guess the relevant kits. You got the cable for the AMD one, but it also comes with the Intel cable as well, user manuals and instruction. A pretty simple kit, hopefully it wouldn't take too long. That's a very easy piece to take out because so many of the things that you install need to take off easily. Very easy piece to take off, just a few clips, 3 clips. Yep. That's done. And then there's this piece. You can see everything's super easy. Yep. And then we'll take off this clip. Took off this piece, just some clips. Very straightforward. You take off the top dash trim on the side. All of these are just clips, so you can just take off this panel. And then now we will take off this particular clip. Make sure you don't lose it. And now you have access to the pieces inside, and that's the plug we need to go into, along with this plug. So it's just there. If you have thinner fingers, you can get in there pretty quickly, but you don't usually need to take off this entire trim. And this is an AMD car, so you just use the AMD harness. You don't need the Intel one. If you have the Intel one, it actually makes it more difficult because you need to use the Intel harness and take off another trim on the top as well. But here it's an AMD one, so you use this harness, the blue plug, obviously you plug into a blue plug that we saw inside, that one there. And then you plug in the small U loop and just replace this cable and bypass this cable using this harness. This is a spare plug. Hansshow provides a spare plug for you to install things like auto door and other fun features as well if you wanted to install anything else in the future. So for now we don't need this, but what we're gonna do is we might use some foam to wrap this up just so it doesn't rattle when we drive. So here's the blue clip. We're gonna plug it into a small one. There we go. Done. All right, now we're just gonna unplug this plug here and put the U loop in to bypass. It might be easiest if you use a Phillips head. There you go. Unplug that. Took some effort. Just make sure you align the directions before you clip it.
It's right there, right? Yep.
And plug the other side back in.
So these 2 rails. All those 2 rails. Snug and secure. Snug and secure.
After you plug everything in, we'll just do a bit of cable management so it looks pretty and nice before we put things back together, and we'll test the screen first. So the harness is plugged in, blue clip to blue clip, and then the U-loop to bypass this particular white small plug. It's very easily accessible as long as you don't have too fat fingers. And now we're just gonna wrap this up. So, well, one, we just protect it a little bit, but also just so it doesn't rattle when we drive. Okay. Now we go through the most important part of counting grooves. So what number are you trying to hit? you
The
think?
instruction says about 35, and when you look at 35, you can see it there. It appears to fall right
In the middle.
towards the center.
Oh, wonderful.
So let's give it a go.
Okay, the instruction says we should insert the blue plug into the 28th hole and then the red plug into the 30th hole. So we're going to do some counting and we'll try to put it in. But what we found is that these cables are a lot thicker than a groove. So it takes a lot of effort to actually put through these cables into the grooves. So we'll see how easy it actually is to pull it through. Okay, a case of measure twice, cut once. So let's count the grooves. So what number are you going for?
So I've gone to 32.
32 from the far right.
32 from the far right.
So the manual is actually wrong when we do it.
Yep.
Because it's definitely in the old version.
So 35 becomes the blue cable. And then 32, 31, 30, 29 becomes the red cable. Because then those two slots go in between.
Okay, you want to test it a few times to make sure it's center to your driving position. I think it can move to the right a little bit. Eyeballing it from here, it doesn't look centered.
It's centered right now.
Now that we've got in the right position, we're just going to tighten it. It's definitely a two-people job. I can't imagine anyone can do it themselves. I mean, I think if someone tries hard enough, they can, but I would say it's a two-people job.
I would struggle.
How many screws in total?
6 in total. But I think we can either put all 6 in or we can save the other 2 for later.
I mean, it's definitely going to be secure. So it definitely helps if you have enough working space, ideally with a table even. So what we did find is the heads are actually very soft.
Let's see.
So it's already stripping some of the material off the screw, even though you're using the right head. This comes to show they are not particularly great screws, but it will hold and will do the job. I think that's probably why they need 6.
There's no changing it now.
So 6 screws, pretty simple. Now we're gonna put it back on and test the screen.
Let's test it out.
And we did want to test it before because we want to minimize just plugging and unplugging this into the car. I believe there's a groove on the cable, so you can't really go wrong in how to plug them in. Yeah, there's a small groove, so it can only go in one direction. Is there some debris in there? Can you just make sure there's nothing inside the plug itself? Mm-hmm. Oh, the screen's on. Says Hansshow. Both on. Brighter now. So there you go. Screen's on. Does it feel like the right position? I hope so. Yeah. All right, let's cable manage this now. So for cable management, we'll put this cable into the groove, and there's usually a small hole in this area. Then the cable can come through, and you can hide through the groove here, and then just hide into the crevice here. Because this is a right-hand drive car, we will have a lot of excess cable, so it's always good to have some zip ties just to get it managed nicely. Even better if we tie these properly, just to minimize, once again, rattling. I'm going to go to the other side to help lift up the dashboard, and then you hide the cables back in first.
Okay.
Don't push hard onto the dash because you don't want to cut the cables, because it can actually...
As it slices into
Yeah,
them.
correct. What we found is because this is a right-hand drive car, there's just too much cable to manage. The easiest thing to do is actually to cable manage it to the underside of the actual vent itself. So now the cable gets electrical taped onto the crevice of the actual dash, and then we'll wire it and cable manage it to where the exit is on the side. So once you cable manage everything, you will need to push the middle part with some force. But you've cable managed everything, you can push with confidence and just push it in. If there are just clips, it just takes a little bit of force to close this back out. And that is one of the last steps. Now we are almost ready and to put everything back together. So before we close everything up, we just want to cable manage, zip tie everything before we close all the heart panels. Push the side first and not the... Yep. close the pin, tape everything down. So what we've done is there's a small gap here. We've managed for the cable to come out at this little hole, so nothing will clip on it. We've taped all the cable down. Probably need to replace this tape because it's coming off already. And we've zip tied everything. Now they go nice and snug and will hide inside the trim.
Line up.
Just push it, literally punch it. Then you put the bottom one in. It's the other way. It's a matter of aligning the plugs and then push down with passion. Once you aligned all the clips and it's not clipping onto any cables, you can just push the clips back on. Almost there. Push pin in. And then that last little piece. So it slides the bottom in and then you push it. Done. Now just push all the weather stripping back on. Make sure it's nice and snug. You don't want water to go in. Well, Daniel. And you're done. Now you just need to set up CarPlay.
So swipe the right edge of the device and you'll get the icons to appear.
Set up CarPlay, turn on Wi-Fi.
Select ZT Link 2621.
Okay. Oh.
Thinking.
Well, to turn on CarPlay, very simple. Swipe on the side, press the navigation button. And there you go. So one of the most important pieces that comes with the screen is a airflow diversion.
And there we go.
Okay. And that piece here helps divert the aircon away from the parts that's blocked by the screen, just so you get the same amount of airflow. And this is how it looks like. Pretty straightforward. Can't really tell that it didn't come with the car. And that's it. That's the install for the new Hansshow 9-inch screen.